Hi guys, today I bring you the newest challenge, which is like basically a cliche at this point, which is the 3x extractor deck challenge. I read the cards, like I already know what the Machina cards do, but I have been playing them fundamentally different, like in a combo deck, like a sort of extenders or more, more like extenders. So for this challenge is the first time I actually use the deck as a pure control deck. Like before, I have theorized the true power level of the deck, but this time I actually put it in practice with just 3 boxes of Destructor deck. However, the deck needed a bit more of consistency. I ran the numbers and I saw that I was not going to get consistent openers. So I decided to break the rules a bit and add 3 copies of Metal Crunch. Metal Crunch is a card in Eternity Code. It's an ultra, so it should be like 7-10 bucks. It really shouldn't be expensive, and it's a good cut. Like trying the deck, it actually is a good cut. Like I tested 10 matches with this deck. I won 7, I lost 3. Keep in mind I'm running no extra, which I think it's fairly good for what this deck is. I recommend you thoroughly this deck if you are coming back to the game after different years, or if you are someone wanting to jump from casual or casually competitive. I mean, from casual, just from casual to competitive. Like when you have a deck, when you have a deck but you keep losing and you want another new deck but you don't want to spend that much, this is where I would totally recommend you this deck. First, the deck: 3 copies of the key boss monster Machina Citadel. Like this card's so good, like I'm gonna show you in a while. 3 Metal Crunch. Metal Crunch is basically 3 more copies of Gear Frame, and it actually triggers with this card, so with Machina Overdrive, so that's actually kind of important. Then Machina Megaform, which is a card that I misplayed like the first 2 games. I was like, dude, how are you misplaying this guy? But yeah, I'm gonna show you why in a while. Then we have the 3 best extenders in the deck, which are a Rider and Iridator. They work in a combination, which I'm gonna show you in a bit. And then 3 Machina Fortress. This card is absolutely good still. There's a particular game that I decided to showcase in this video for you, where I actually win the leg on my opponent because of this card. Like it's a ridiculous mirror match because keep in mind I'm running like no other cards that cannot be obtained in the Destructor deck box or the Metal Cruncher. My opponent was playing like Extravagance, Impermanence, Ash, uh, the thing, the Origin Schedule. Like it was a complete deck, a complete Machina deck with an extra deck, and I still managed to beat him. I'm gonna show you why, even if I misplayed. So I'm gonna show you. 3 Gear Frame. Then I just played 1 Possessor Edge. I theorized that if I kept recycling it with Defense Region, I would have like enough extension to keep playing with my Citadel. Like then 3 Rhodas. This card's really good. Like discarding a Machina to grab this and the Trap card won me a lot of games. Like this card gives you enough legs to last. Then 2 Cosmic Cyclones because I didn't see what else to put. Like I wouldn't put the Avarice in. Then the Defense Region. This card is okay as a search, but it's not something you want to open. So at 1 I feel it's okay, and it's not at 1. It's actually at 4, so it's okay. Then 3 Overdrive. This card's so good that I actually want to run 6. I actually don't even run 6. I run 9. 3, 3, and 3. And this card's so good. What it does is destroy 1 Machina to control, and then it's going to summon the Citadel. So it's basically trading one of your monsters for a Raigeki in your opponent's turn. So that's really good. So if you have other Citadel, you can make a lot of naughty plays. So that's really good. Then 3 back to the front lines because I heard that reviving Raigekis or Summoner Monks is actually good. Then 3 Trap Trick. This card's really good because it searches the best card on the deck or the second best card in the deck. And then 3 Solemn Strike. I don't like Solemn cards, but it's what I had to work with. So I'm going to show you the replays, just 2, because I mean I had a bunch of irrelevant games. I even had to dig for one of game where it's basically such a easy win, a blowout from my part. So because my opponent break, but it's a good example like how the engine rolls. So I'm gonna show you. I think it's this one, right? So let's first do this. So In my hand, I have the Metal Crunch, the Air Rider, Overdrive, the Megaform, and the Citadel. This is actually a pretty good hand, and I'm gonna show you why. First, I go for Metal Crunch. Metal Crunch allowed me to reveal the 3 copies of iRadiator, and then I obviously added a copy of iRadiator, like there was no other possibility. So, first, I discard like the Citadel with Air Rider, and then uh, the Mega Form with the iRadiator. This is because I'm going to use iRadiator's effect to bring back the Mega Form, and then I can bring back the Citadel too, like you're going to see in a while. Then I just burn for Machina Fortress. It, in this scenario, I'm really well protected. Like my opponent needs a really good hand or an interruption on Citadel to stop my turn. So yeah, my opponent break, so it really doesn't matter too much what he does, but just look at this. I want to showcase this game because it actually shows what the pure deck is meant to do. So at this point I knew he had break because no one normal summons this guy from the start of the combo because it locks many different plays. So I just basically activate the Citadel, blow out the Possessor Edge, which was my weakest monster, and then we just kept playing, right? So it's super fine. Like, I didn't have to do anything special then. But this part is important because I summon the Meta Crunch from my deck and I get a search. Like, I actually stack 3 gear frames and then I got a gear frame. So that's super fine. So then I draw another card, and this is basically game. So my opponent even scoops before I can go to the battle phase. So that's one game. The other game, I'm going to be more detailed about the misplays I made because I made one misplay in the in my first turn, which I think it was important, but what can you do? So I'm gonna show you. This is a mirror match. This is a mirror match with the extra deck and good cards, and as you can see. I chose to go first. So I started the game with Gear Frame instead of Metal Crunch, which was a mistake, because in my third turn, it's important, and I'm going to explain you why. So, but it was a misplay. I should have started the game with Metal Crunch. I thought this card was Gear Frame too, but it requires you to have no cards. But at that point, I was going to have one card, so that's the thing. I discarded my Citadel to add a copy of the trap card, to add a copy of Overdrive and Defense Region. This is because I already was able to summon Irridator, so I was super fine here, and this thing in theory would give me legs enough to keep cycling my cards, and then I could summon things from my deck if things went sour. So it was super fine. It's a combat card as well, so in this scenario, this is the part where I misplay even more than the Metal Cruncher. So I recover the Irradiator, which is fine, and then I summon the Fortress, which is fine. The issue here is that I just set the Overdrive and didn't activate the Mega Forms effect to summon the Air Rider, which was a mistake that could have costed me the game. So yeah, look at this. My opponent starts with a copy of Extravagance, which I have no answer to. Fortunately for me, he draws like another copy of Extravagance, but even then. Uh, then he discarded the Citadel for the Irradiator. I didn't trigger my Citadel's effect because at this point I'm basically not forced to, because he can't activate the effect of Irradiator. So I guess he had an Air Rider because he didn't search for it. So this is the part he acts for and actually summons the Irradiator. At this point, I should have used the Citadel effect to blow out his field. Like he would have gotten like the Mega Form and by extension the Citadel. That's why I didn't do it. But if I had used my Air Rider, I would have been in a position where I would have been able to recover my Citadel. So I would have my Air Rider discard here in defense mode. He would have like just the Mega Form and his Citadel, and then I would cover my Citadel as well by summoning Machina Fortress. So it was actually a costly misplay, as you can see. So at this point, I just tried to salvage the situation by triggering early my Citadel. I knew that I was not going to be able to destroy, but what I was trying to do here is to force him to go into the battle phase. This damage is not lethal, so it's what I was trying to do. So he destroys his own fortress, and I just recover the Mega Form to have a discard, and I don't get hit too hard. This is a point where I try to salvage the situation. So he makes this thing because he's playing an extra deck, and this card, I didn't even read it. To be completely honest, I just played into it. So you're going to see. I discarded for Irradiator. At this point, this is why I told you I couldn't play my Metal Crunch, and I needed this card down, so I had to discard it. If I had used the Metal Crunch turn 1 and this thing, I would have been able to normal summon this thing and win the game. But not win the game, but to take control of the game one turn faster. But unfortunately, I misplayed. So at this point, he misplays because I just triggered this guy to summon the gear frame. I summoned the gear frame because I was trying to lure him into me summoning the citadel and then equipping my gear frame to my citadel to trigger his effect and then just chain mine. Because I didn't know what this card did, but I didn't care, to be honest. So I recovered my Irradiator again because he triggers his thing, and then I just summon my Machina Fortress and I summon my guy. This play was actually really important, as you are going to see. The logic here is that I was going to crash with the fortress. I was going to kill this guy, and then I was going to kill this guy, and then I was going to crash, and I will have like the solemn strike, and he wouldn't be able to come back. So yeah. Then again, I trigger an early activation, which he could negate with this guy. So I lost my cards, and then I recovered the Mega Form. So I was able to run the threat and pass. So my opponent is going to play against his copy of Pot of Extravagance, and then look at his draw. Like, he got an Impermanence and Argent Skettle. This is pretty ridiculous, to be completely honest. So he plays another Reformation, which is important, which is big for him, because he is able to reestablish his field. What I do here is negate the summon of the second Citadel, because when my guy died, I would have been able to recover my Citadel. So that was the original plan. So as you can see, he's going to attack, and I'm going to recover. This time I corrected my misplay, and I recovered the gear frame. From this point on, I started to play the game perfectly. So if you want to get good, learn from these turns and not from my first turns. That was the point of commenting this game for you. So he actually decides not to do anything, because remember, he had already triggered his destroy effect, his Raigeki effect, so I was completely protected at this scenario. Here he misplays awfully because he didn't equip the gear frame. Equipping gear frame to this guy in the mirror match is huge. So this is a misplay from him. And I don't remember if he had already used or not the effect of the Mega Form, but if he didn't, that was a misplay as well. So I draw for my turn, and I draw a huge card, which is Trap Trick. This is a card that is going to win me the game. So and the moment I saw it when I drew it, I was like, okay, I'm going to use this card to win the game, either by using another copy of Overdrive or using Back to the Front Lines. So at this point, I decide to discard the Metal Crunch finally to summon my Irradiator. In this way, I was going to be able to summon the Mega Form. I was trying to do this way because I knew that he was going to activate his Citadel early if I activated my own Citadel, which he targeted with Impermanence. So in this case scenario, he was not able to read the play well, and I actually outplayed him. So you're going to see. So I trigger it, and then he triggers it, and then I just draw for the flex. Here, there was no need to draw that there, but I drew that card anyway. So I recovered my Irradiator again, and then I summoned my gear frame. I decided to add Machina Fortress because I was going to crash these guys, and then I was going to crash like my fortress, and I was going to recover the control of the game. So I decide to discard my Irradiator, I crash, I recover my Citadels. Remember, there's no more Raigeki-like effect. So at this point, my play changed, because what I was going to do was going to crash the fortress here and then destroy his citadel, and then just my citadel could run over his megaform. This is a play that actually wins the game, or that's what I thought. So I attack, I claim, then I attack. I thought at this point I already had a bunch of control because I had these cards, but you're going to see that I was wrong. So he plays his schedule. He has to return one of his citadels to his deck first. So he draws an Ash Blossom, he summons 2, and then at this point I decided to chain immediately to his defense region, because even if he recovers his gear frame, he wouldn't have any play left. Like sorry, because if I chain my citadel here, he wouldn't be able to recover a card, so he only had this card. So I thought I was super fine, so I would only have to deal with his citadel, and at this point he was completely outplayed. So I made him go into the battle phase. Like, I even warned him, like I activated this to see if he would skip his battle phase, but he didn't. So he attacked, and I used this thing, and then he basically decided to destroy, and then I didn't care which card he added. Like, he added his Machina gear frame, which he didn't normal summon. Like, this guy was already really tilted up that after drawing so many broken cards, he was so far behind. Like, don't do that. If your opponent is playing very well and is outplaying you, the worst thing you can do is get pissed, which is something I did at the start of the game, where he made the double extravagance and the double reformation thing, which is not good for you. So at this point, I drew another insurance card, which I didn't use to win the game. So I used Gear Frame to try to OTK him, but he has the Ash Blossom, so this turn I will be able to OTK him. So I just do what I can, like attack, 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 and then I don't do the same mistake as he did. So I equip my Gear Frame behind, and I knew from this point on that this game was mine. So let's look at his graveyard. Like, he has 1, 2. He probably still had 1 Irradiator in his deck, so he probably misplayed again, because he should have normal the gear frame and then discarded this thing to summon his Irradiator. His Irradiator should have target the Mega Form, and then he would have gotten his Citadel. In that position, he would still have lost, but because I had the gear frame, but still, that was something that he didn't account for. So he misplaced again, and then it was like, okay, dude, this is over. So let's go back quickly to the deck, because this video took longer than I thought it would. I mean, this is very informative for you, because you don't get that much information from the head of a good player. Sorry if it's wrong. Sorry if it's wrong that I call myself a good player, because I shouldn't. Like, that recognition should come from other people and not from myself. But it's just to try to illustrate the point. Like, many people show you gameplays, but don't show you what's his reasoning behind what he's doing. So that's very good for, I think I like that type of content, so this is what I was trying to provide here. Just to close the video up, like, this deck is good, but not this version. Like, this version, like I've told you, I would totally recommend you if you want something cheap and new to play against your friends, or to play in a very small local tournament, but not to play at a regional or relatively large locals. It has to be a really small locals, but it's definitely something you could play if you really wanted to, but it's not something that is going to win you that many games. I know, don't fall into that trap. Konami tries to avoid cheap meta decks, because it's not something they are okay with. This is because that's the reason as of why most structured decks like are not that good, not that competitive. Like, we have exceptions like Dino Smashers Fury, but Dino Smashers at the time required like 3 copies of the Dragonic Diagram to be good, or to be. It was rogue. It was not even tired. It was rogue. So just look at that. Salam, a great deck. Like, they realized their mistake and limited Ladybug. and then that forces you to buy 3 copies of Silent Mining. So if you look at this is pretty much the same situation. I'm going to bring a profile of a more competitive version of this deck that actually has an extra deck, but I thought this might be interesting for people who really wants to try a cheap deck that can win them games in at the stage of their dueling career, where they are not pressured like to top events or they are not that good yet and they still need to learn more. This deck can hold you very well there. Like if you are an advanced player, this deck is going nowhere, like this pure passion. But if you are a newish or an intermediate player, I can totally see you getting better if you play this. So that's that. I'll see you next time with I promise some profiles. So but I'm going to the next video is going to be more one card combo. So see you later, guys.